This story begins just as so many before it, with a child, in this case a 16-year-old waking up from a slumber. The child's name was Cades Kurgan, and today he was incredibly excited because it would be his first day at the magic school. Anolria. It was a fairly popular elementary school on Ahetria, his home. As Cades finally arose from his dark blue bedsheets and very comfortable bed, he stretched his wings and went on to go down the stairs to the kitchen. Yes, you heard that right, wings. Cades was a Ahetrian. They were very similar to humans, or even more so, to angels. They do, however, have a very different digestive system, in that they mostly live off of sugar and other high-energy edibles. They can also live off of mana, or also known as magical energy itself. But to do that they would have to be a very powerful example of their species. Cades was of course not capable of living of mana, but his very wide dark wings, reminding of a hawk's, were still very imposing. There were other differences, such as very clearly the skeletal structure, but let's not bore ourselves with the facts right now. After all, we are here to hear the story of the Crusader King. As the child walked down the hallway to get to the kitchen, in which his mom was probably already either eating or cooking something, he was very excited and lost in thoughts. As previously mentioned, was this his first day at a elementary magic school? Of course, it wasn't exactly equal to what we would call an elementary school, but it was a school that taught the students everything that they needed to know about magic. Of course, there were some specialized schools, but Anolria was a pretty good all-rounder that has been teaching its students since over 300 years. Many aspiring mages or warriors would choose such all-rounders because a mage needed to be able to at least defend themselves, and a knight should be able to at least heal some of their comrades in the case of a war or just a simple brawl. Cades' goal, however, was something completely different. He wanted to build magical monuments. He wanted to create arcane wonders and mystic miracles. He wanted to become what many would call artificer. "My little hawk, you are awake!" Cades was ripped out of his thoughts and saw a beautiful woman exuding an aura of warmth comparable to a blanket. She had hazel hair and a paler skin tone because she normally worked inside a building, as she was a teacher. Her eyes had a yellowish-brown tint, as was the case with many members of their species, and she was moderately tall with an height of 1.67 meters. Her face seemingly exuded kindness. The woman was wearing something that seemed to be a t-shirt and wide pants, both in warm and dark colors, though compared to Earth the material seemed to be quite a bit more rough. Her name was Laura, and she was Cades' mom. "Yes, Mom, I'm awake," answered Cades, although he was still quite tired. After all, he was so excited because of the magic school that he could barely sleep. However, he did not want his mom to know about that. She would just worry about him. "Sweetie," Laura began, "how are you feeling? Do you think you're ready for the magic school?" "Yes, I think so. I've done everything I could to prepare." "Don't worry too much, sweetie. You are very talented as an artificer. I mean, just look at what you already made." She pointed at a small enchanted racket that he had made for her kitchen utensils. It was not very interesting. It just had the power to make the kitchen and the utensils smell good. It was more of a carpentry work than a magical work. He had just used the wood from peculiarly nice-smelling trees, like a tree reminiscent of pine, but more so smelling like lavender, and used a simple spell to make sure that they smelled the same and preferably with the same intensity for a long time. It would only last for about a month, though. That, however, was still incredibly impressive for his age, even for a Ahetrian, a species known to be talented at magic. But that did not quench his anxiety. After all, he had been preparing and looking forward to today for a long time. He had prepared a flute with an enchanted airlock inside that would be able to play a previously engraved sequence in the form of a melody that he would hopefully show his new teacher, hopefully impressing them. Laura continued on. If you can already do that, and then that beautiful flute, then the teachers will, without a doubt, love you. Cades wasn't exactly calmed. He had heard the same thing from her too many times to be calmed down by it. He wasn't exactly worried about what his mom was worrying about either. While his mom assumed that he was worried about not being accepted, he was more worried about not finding any friends in the new school. Cades had always been obsessed with magic, but lately he had also developed a longing to be social. Getting rid of all these impeding and annoying doubts, he reassured himself and ate breakfast, a simple fruit called a travera. It grew on the trees of a Ahetria and was very sweet and sugary. It contained a minuscule amount of mana and a lot of energy, just as almost everything on a Ahetria had. Other than that, it was purple-greenish and looked like a big pear. After eating the fruit and brushing his teeth, he went outside with a huge backpack and an additional handbag where a kind of silver telescope was partially able to be seen. He rose into the air and started flying forward to Anoria, ready to spend the next year of his life learning all kinds of magic. Although, hopefully, mainly artificing.